Hello, I'm Rico Cavella. Welcome to this episode of Fearless Aging. And the title of today's episode is Your Health Challenges? Is it just aging or is it your body burden? This is going to be a really informative one, so you want to really make sure you stay with us the whole time. So, our expert guest, his name is Nicholas Pinot. He's known as the EMF guy. He's the number one best-selling author of the Non-Tinfoil Guide to EMFs and an advocate for safe technologies. Through his unconventional approach, blending humor, science, and common sense, he's becoming a leading voice on the topic of electromagnetic pollution and how it affects our health. So this is going to be a really important interview. So I'm just going to play a short message from one of our sponsors, as always, and then we'll get right into the interview.
Stop forcing down those massive pills that end up in your toilet, not in your bloodstream. Hello, I'm Rico Cavella. For the very first time in my 43 years as a personal trainer and wellness coach, I am endorsing and recommending a unique line of nutritional supplements. Superior Source produces an exclusive line of microlingual tablets that dissolve instantly under your tongue. I have a hard time swallowing large tablets and capsules, but these tiny tablets are the easiest to take I have ever found. These products are clinically tested for purity, potency, and have the highest rate of absorption. Microlingual tablets are ideal for those with digestive challenges and for infants and children, as there are no pills to swallow. They offer a full line of key nutritional supplements, including many for children. So why give these supplements a try? They're easy to take, highly absorbable, and inexpensive. Join thousands who have ditched their pills. One tablet under your tongue will make you a believer.
All right, here we go. Hello, I'm Rico Cavella. Welcome to this episode of Fearless Aging. And the title of today's episode is Your Health Challenges. Is it just aging or is it your body burden? And our expert guest, his name is Nicholas Pinot. He is known as the EMF guy. He's the number one best-selling author of the Non-Tinfoil Guide to EMFs and an advocate for safe technologies. Through his unconventional approach, blending humor, science, and common sense, he's becoming a leading voice on the topic of electromagnetic pollution and how it affects our health. For the last few years, Nick has been interviewing some of the best minds on health and technology, facilitating the creation of courses, education materials to raise awareness on this very important issue. And you can find more about Nick at the emfguide.com. So, Nicholas Pinot, thanks so much for being here.
Hey, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, well, this is such an important topic that still, I think a lot of people hear about it, but they just don't pay attention. So I don't think they really, they still got their cell phone on all the time, and so this is a really, it's going to be a great topic. So I do have a question on your book, the title, The Non-Tinfoil Guide. What do you mean by non-tinfoil?
It's, some people online and, in the popular culture, a lot of people think that when you talk about electromagnetic radiation from cell phones and wonder if it is dangerous or claim that it's dangerous, you're a tinfoil hatter, conspiracy theorist type of person. So, especially because of that movie Signs with Joaquin Phoenix back in the days, where he had a tinfoil hat on and was talking to extraterrestrials. So it comes from that, moniker. But in the end, I find it very appalling that this topic got kind of relegated to this corner of the internet, because in the end, it's really EMF is one of the worst type of environmental toxins that we are exposed to, and it's fast increasing.
Well, and that's a good title, though, because it kind of gets your attention, like, well, what does it mean by that tinfoil? So I think that was pretty smart. That's a really good title. Well, before we get into it, just tell us a little bit, just briefly, your story, how you got so involved in this, and how did you decide to make this your life work?
Yeah, it went by very fast. As you know, when you're passionate, the years just fly by. It's been 16 years since I've been focusing on environmental toxins and about 10 years on EMF, which is electromagnetic fields that we get nowadays from cell phones or Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. 16 years ago, for me, it was the realization that yes, exercise matters and nutrition matters, but also I started learning about these things that are sprayed in our food called pesticides, and there's pesticides residues, and it can impact our hormones. So therefore, it can impact how our body functions. And I started being alarmed because I was hearing not only about pesticides, but also about what's in the tap water. And, they've got lead here in the city of Montreal all over the place. And we had the scandal in the US, Flint, Michigan, around a decade ago that just reminded the public that we are exposed to a lot of environmental toxins. And the problem with them is that, we're not exposed to one thing. And this is really when I dove into EMFs in 2016. I discovered that not only is the topic not about tinfoil hatter conspiracy theorists, it is really a multiplicative agent in the environment. The EMFs that we are exposed to are a stressor, and they make it more difficult for our bodies to deal with all the other toxins out there. So this is really what alarmed me the most and made me very focused on that topic for the last 10 years as a citizen journalist.
Yeah, well, again, I want to thank you for your work because it's so important. Let's just let our audience know, just in case they don't quite understand. All these different toxins that come from, like, as you say, from the air, and from all the chemicals in our environment, and food and water and electromagnetic things. So what are actually toxins do in the body? I think when toxins build up in our body, they suppress our immune system, and of course, our immune system is the most important thing to keep us healthy and well. So talk a little bit more about that.
It's a big part of it. Toxins can impact every single bodily system. And the problem really is that we don't have a good idea on a scientific standpoint. What do all toxins in a lifetime of a person actually do, right? What is the contributor or the contribution of all these environmental toxins, including, what we talked about, what's up in the tap water, but also air pollution, toxins that aren't even controversial. They are neurotoxins sometimes, so it can cause premature brain aging, and it's linked with greater risks of Alzheimer's or dementia. But then there's the cancer part, and all these chronic disease. I was very alarmed to see that in the scientific literature, a lot of scientists conclude their papers saying, well, we know that cancer is not just about genetics, which is what a large percentage of the public says. Oh, my great aunt and my mom got cancer, and it's just bad luck. We know now that this is not accurate. You have a fraction of chronic disease that is due to genetic, at least a big part of it is due to genetic predisposition, but we know that now the majority of cases is due to environmental causes. Some of them might be malnutrition or lack of exercise, which is often cited, but the researchers agree that a big part is the environment. The problem I have with that is that, okay, what in the environment is causing it? And they cannot pinpoint one toxin. And I think what they're trying to do is to just find one culprit. I don't think they're going to find it. I think it's something now that the term that I think is a bit geeky, but it really makes sense, is exposome. And exposome is what you're exposed to. So everything you're exposed to has an impact on your body and is an additional stressor preventing you from simply being in the best health that you can. So when it comes to EMFs, for example, a lot of people can say, well, do cell phones cause or not cause brain cancer? And the reality is that the data is mixed. Some scientists say, if you put a cell phone to your ear for years on end, you're asking for trouble because we think it can multiply your risks of brain cancer. So why not take precautions and put it at a distance using speakerphone or using wired earbuds? That's one angle. However, I'm more focused on wellness. And that's why I generally steer away from the cancer conversation and ask people, do you think that the wireless radiation from your phone can impact your sleep? And the reality is that we have indications that it does, and it's not talked about by almost anyone. And a lot of people sleep with their phone. So, beyond cancer, I don't think that wellness or being healthy is just avoiding cancer. It's also great sleep, feeling good, and feeling good in your old age, which requires great sleep. So therefore, a quick tip is just turning off that phone or putting it in another room when you go to sleep, which is not something a lot of people have ever heard about.
Yeah, Nick, before we get into more about EMS, I just want to add, toxins are substances that are hazardous to our health, and they're things that shouldn't be in our body, and it creates a lot of stress on our body trying to eliminate those toxins. And as you mentioned, there's so many different toxins. It's kind of like the same thing as with pharmaceutical drugs. Yeah, they test one drug and they say, well, it didn't kill too many people, so it'll be safe, right? But what about when you take in multiple pharmaceutical drugs? No one knows what the interaction of all those multiple drugs can be on your body. It's the same thing. No one really knows what can happen when you have multiple layers of toxins in your body.
That's correct. Not only that, but we know that these toxins now start from birth. There's a few studies that I cited in my latest documentary that is open to a wider topic. It's called Body Burden, right? Talking about the burden of toxins in the human body. And one study that I looked at is from here, researchers from the University of Montreal here in my neck of the woods, and they looked at umbilical cord blood from newborns, and it's already full of different toxins, 200 plus chemicals that they could detect. And that's the thing. There's many where we don't have testing equipment for, we don't have quantification. So it's almost, a black box where you don't know exactly what's in the body. So what I've been exploring is, do we have an idea of how many toxins are accumulating or what's the impact? And the daunting thing is that we don't, but the good news is that regardless of whether you know or you don't know what's accumulating in your body, there are health principles you can follow. So I know it's a little bit alarming when you think about the fact, my God, what have I been exposed to in my lifetime? And I was, it's something you can literally lose sleep over, which is ironic, right? We're trying to get healthy here. But the good news is that regardless of which toxins may or may not be in your body, the principles is really what matters, which is, opening detox pathways, moving your body, and great sleep. So these principles are timeless and will continue to be true regardless of what we're actually exposed to.
Yeah, absolutely. Really well said. And before we get into some ways we all know you don't have to even get tested. We know everybody is exposed to all these different toxins. So all the different things that we've learned, and you've learned how we can start to detox. We'll talk about that in just a minute. But I do want to mention that before we go on, make sure that we don't forget that you're offering a free. You can view Nicholas's really great documentary. It's called the Body Burden Movie, and we're going to put that information, the link where you can go and watch his movie. So I highly encourage you to do that. You'll get really educated, and hopefully you'll get enough information that you want to take action on it. So back to EMFs. So describe exactly what EMFs are and why can they be harmful to the body?
Well, I think the simple way to perceive it is that we are surrounded by different waves, right? And by different energies or frequencies. But in nature, we have, the sun or the natural earth magnetism. And we know now that our body's health is intimately linked with these natural exposures. If you put astronauts in space, they start to lose touch with these rhythms of life. And in fact, you do need a connection to the planet and to the sun to be in good health. And a lot of people are now understanding that we need vitamin D and we need that sunshine. The problem is that now what we've done with these frequencies is that just like we did with processed foods, we introduce a lot of artificial foods that our bodies have a hard time processing. It's the same thing with EMFs. We used to have these natural EMFs in nature, and we are inherently compatible with them. They are beneficial to our body if we have just the right amount when it comes to sunshine. But when it comes to EMFs, it's now the artificial waves and frequencies that have been introduced in the environment that cause stress in our body, quite simply. So it's cell phone radiation, your cell phones to the cell phone tower, but now it's also that Wi-Fi router in your home and your neighbors. And now you add, a lot of people use AirPods, so very close to their brain for hours and hours on end. And now it's even the satellites around the planet that are starting to be part of this global wireless grid. So all these exposures are cumulative, and what they mean is that it's harder to simply function because it's a source of oxidative stress. And a lot of people have heard about antioxidant. That's something that you would get through your diet, or simply that your body inherently produces to try to combat different sources of oxidative stress. And a source of oxidative stress is, this morning I went to the gym and I really challenged my body, and it caused oxidative stress. And when my body's natural capability to buffer and combat that oxidative stress comes on, and when I heal from that stress, then I become stronger. And that's a type of good stress. The problem with EMFs is that it's unabated chronic exposure with no relief, right? You don't get even a relief at night. That's why I tell people to turn off their cell phone to try to get some relief from these exposures. The problem is really a little bit of oxidative stress, but nonstop 24/7. And this is really the root of the problem with EMFs, is that it is continuous exposure. And also the number of sources is just increasing because society is moving in this direction of more and more wireless.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I've just never been really into cell phones. I still like my landline for most of my business, and I keep my cell phone in my car. I use it when I need a phone or send some text or something, but I don't want to be having it on my body. I don't want to have it around me, looking at it all the time. It's also, I heard a really good definition of cell phones. They are weapons of mass distraction.
Yeah,
So
that's a good one.
obviously they're very beneficial, and we need them. We can do a lot of things, and they can save lives and all that sort of thing. But we just get so caught up, and people can't put them down. As you know, just you mentioned going to the gym. Sometimes when I go to the gym, people can't even put their cell phone down in the gym. They have to have it right next to them, and they'll do an exercise and they're back on their phone again. It just drives me nuts.
Mm-hmm.
Just got to put it down, right? So tell us your best recommendations for. Well, you've already kind of mentioned it, but what would you really recommend? First, start with EMFs. What would you say? Say the top 3 things that you should start to do right now to reduce your exposure.
The number one thing I would recommend is, whenever you have a phone and it's touching your body, you want to keep it at a distance. And sometimes it's difficult because you carry your phone around, and there are special cases you can purchase to kind of shield against the radiation. But generally speaking, I don't put a phone to my head. I would use it at a distance with speakerphone, or where appropriate. Of course, in the subway train, you might annoy your neighbors, but that's why you can also have wired solutions, or simply, what a lot of people don't realize is that you can make it so that your phone automatically redirects to a landline when you're at your work, for example. Even for me, I take most calls on my computer, which is, wired, and I don't even use Wi-Fi. So the one thing is the separation from your phone and the distance, just because of the cancer risk and also the risk to fertility if you have a phone in your pocket, especially for men. So that's number one. Number 2 would be to that same phone, I don't want it to be near your pillow at night, because this is the time where we need relief. We need good sleep. And we know that the phone will interfere with sleep quality. So airplane mode is good. It's a bit tricky. You got to make sure that the Wi-Fi is off and the Bluetooth is off, and it's very confusing. So when people tell me I'm confused, I don't know what to do, put it in the next room and charge it there. And moreover, it will help you not to be distracted on your phone right before you go to sleep, which we know is a bad habit anyway. A lot of people are trying to shake it up. It is difficult to shake up, but take a good book, keep your phone, in the dining room and it's open. And then also I realized that a lot of parents told me, my phone is my only emergency line, and I don't have a corded landline anymore. So, if it comforts them, keep it in the next room with the ringer at the maximum in case you have older kids now that are going out at night, which is very frequently some parents tell me is their concern. And you're going to be better off because that radiation exposure will drop off immensely, probably 99.999%, if you have it apart from your body. And the third thing I would say is that also your Wi-Fi router is a huge source of exposure inside your home. A lot of people have it. Sometimes it can be in some sort of utility room, or it can be for some people, they told me it's in my bedroom, which is not ideal. But in all situation, if you turn off your Wi-Fi, you're going to calm down your entire environment. And again, good habit to turn off your Wi-Fi at night, because you won't be tempted to maybe look at messages or connect to the Wi-Fi, and it's a reduction of your overall exposure during the night. You can even plug your Wi-Fi router into one of these outlet timers that you use for Christmas lights, and that way it will turn off automatically, maybe 11 p.m. to 5 a.m., whatever your preference is, and you get 6 to 8 hours of relief for your entire family.
Yeah, that's good information. Thank you so much for that. We're just about out of time here. What about the EMS that come from just like a computer screen or a TV?
Well, when it comes to EMS from a computer screen, my main concern would be to minimize the amount of wireless you're getting from a laptop, for example. So that's why I recommend for any person working on a computer, try to use a wire Ethernet cable to wire your internet, which is a bit old school. Some people told me I didn't even know these exist anymore. And, usually it's there. That's true. That's how much technology has evolved in the last 15 years, but you can still have them. And I have, my computer is wired, so it's not, the screens themselves are not an immense concern, but I must say the smart TVs now in a lot of people's bedrooms are always emitting Bluetooth or Wi-Fi as they're trying to connect. So another source is a smart TV. If it's very close to your pillow, I would literally unplug it, because there are some TVs, believe it or not, that even if they're turned off, they still emit EMF. So you got to unplug the thing. It's just poorly done.
Wow. Thank you for that. All right. Well, we are out of time. So again, we're going to put that link where you can go and watch next documentary. And also, he has a great book that you could really get educated on, really all about EMFs. And you can pick up a copy of his book at emfbook.com. And again, we'll put that link in the show description so you can connect with Nick. Well, Nick, thank you so much. Thank you for your work. Thanks for being here. That was a great interview.
Thanks so much for having me.
All right, we are back. So I hope you found that quite interesting and take it to heart. There's been many, many studies. There's so many people now, particularly in the holistic wellness community, that are saying, realizing how toxic these electromagnetic fields can be. Don't forget, everything is cumulative. So even though if that's all you had, if those were only the toxins that you were receiving, then it probably wouldn't be a problem. But we get toxins from chemicals in our food, in our air, in our water, from all different sources. And so these EMFs really are cumulative and add up. So if nothing else, just do not keep your phone on your person. Don't keep it in your pocket. Keep it away from your body until you're actually using it. All right, I want to play another short message from one of our important sponsors, and we'll be right back.
In a perfect world, we would all be happy, healthy, and successful. But stress, family, genetics, and life's little surprises take their toll on our brains, our bodies, and our psyche. And our quality of life suffers because we're not functioning at our best. Well, you can start by training your brain with the Quantum Mind method. This is not a game, and it's not a toy. It's developed by the world's only brainwave entrainment engineer, backed by over 40 years of research and development. It's 100% natural and couldn't be easier to use. With regular listening, your brain will naturally become stronger, more efficient, your most reliable ally, and all with almost no effort. You can achieve anything you want and get the most out of your life with the Quantum Mind method. The world is yours, so take it. Take it now.
So again, I want to emphasize that I wouldn't have these sponsors on our show if I hadn't checked them out and if I didn't really feel that what they have to do is really valuable. So, I mean, just take what we just saw, the Mind Trainer Pro for your brain. At least, go there to mindtrainerpro.com and get his free sample and just listen to it for a while and see what you think and see if you can get some results. And then after that, if you like it, I mean, even a lot of his programs, they're not expensive. And what could be more important than to train your brain and give your brain the best chance to stay healthy as long as that's actually possible. So that's our show for today. Thanks very much for being here. If you like it, tell your friends about the Fearless Aging TV show. And I will see you next time. Thank you.